Welcome to The Modern Artrepreneur, a podcast documenting my circuitous approach to blending art and entrepreneurship. This is episode 7, where I'll discuss the process of writing an ebook. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I have a number of unmade screenplays that I've decided I'm going to turn into a book of short stories.
When I decided that I wanted to write a book,
This is Ben Mel talking about his self-publishing experiences on Amazon.
I didn't really know what kind of book I was going to do, and I didn't know how I was going to do it because at the time I started writing it, it was like 2006, I believe. So, self-publishing was really non-existent, and so I just started by coming up with an idea of what I wanted the book to be like, So it started as a novel, and then it was terrible as a novel, and I turned it into short essays about my life, and I had sent it out to friends to get some honest feedback, and the feedback was mixed. So I knew I had to rework it and create some more drafts, and then I sent it up again, and a lot of people I sent it to thought it was good enough to show somebody. So I went the traditional route of, writing the query letter and sending it out to people and getting rejected by hundreds and hundreds of literary agents and book publishing companies. And I think I had gotten rejected like 400 times. And I still have every single rejection letter. I use it as motivation now. But Ray Bradbury, the famous science fiction author, his agency contacted me and said that they really liked my book and would be interested in talking to me. So I went in for a meeting in New York City, and it went really well, and they asked me to have another meeting, and the agency was run by a father-son, and the father was like a legendary literary agent who had many, many authors under his wing who were great, and he passed away in between my first and second meeting, and they closed shop for like a week to mourn him and go through the normal funeral proceedings. So I waited about 2 weeks to be respectful, and then I reached out again, and they told me they were shutting down the agency because, they had made enough money and they didn't need to continue, and they didn't have any new authors, so they weren't going to take any. So I was like, fuck, right when I get close, this guy dies, and now I'm back to square one.
So, the next part of the process is to check out online distributors, see which would be the best to facilitate the distribution of my ebook. So a quick Google search brought up a number of self-publishers online, and I went through a couple. The first one that was extremely popular is Issue Digital Platform. That's 2 S's and 2 U's. They predominantly do magazines and publications, but they do have a huge readership. 25 million documents, and they've got 100 million readers a month. They don't have anything in particular about novels or books, mostly magazines and trade journals. There's a monthly subscription of around $30, but there isn't much of a return for individual books or to get paid on an individual basis. If you do want to get paid by the books, they have 2 options. One, you could post a preview version of your document. So I would post a copy of my book, but only a short portion of a chapter, or maybe just one chapter. And the rest I would fill with pages that have a click-through link back to the website where people could buy it elsewhere. Or they offer the option of making your publication unlisted, and then you could charge people for the link to the unlisted publication. But you'd have to take a couple of precautions in order to prevent people sharing it and sending it out without your permissions. And they do offer those quite naturally, but they come at a higher price. Blurb offers print and ebooks. They do photo books, trade books, magazines, and ebooks. In terms of pricing, most of the print books are based on the page count, ranging anywhere from $2.50 to $15 incrementally all the way up. They offer a number of tools to help with in order to craft the book, which, is cool, I guess. But they offer specifically two kinds of ebooks. There is a fixed layout, which keeps the book exactly the way it is, pages, images, everything like that. And that's available on the Apple iTunes store. So the price of that is about $9.99, and then I'm sure that the Apple Books iBooks store takes a percentage as well. There's also a reflowable ebook, which you can transfer right now for free, which is available in the Apple iBooks store and on the Amazon Kindle store. You can make a storefront page for your book on Blurb, and then Blurb charges about 20%. So you can list your book in the Apple iBooks store directly through the site, but the iBooks store fee is 30% on top of Blurb's 20% handling charge. So if you use Blurb to go through the iBooks store, you're going to get hit with pretty close to 50% taken already. And even though you're not putting in very much money, that's still a considerable amount going out the door in fees. Lulu is another online self-publisher with similar offerings. They have some cool tools to help evaluate how much money you will get through each vendor of ebooks, through their own Lulu bookstore, through the iBooks, Nook, the Amazon Kindle, and Kobo. Their fees do look competitive, taking $179 from an $8.99 ebook, which converts to roughly 20%. So I'm beginning to see some patterns here. A lot of these places are offering free uploads and free tools to help you craft the look and the format and making sure that everything really looks like an ebook. And then they're taking anywhere from 20 to 30%. So if that's what we're basically gonna be dealing with, I figured I should just keep going and see what others offered. And then there's Book Tango. Book Tango is an interesting online self-publisher that makes a lot of big promises. Reading from their website, they say, quote, "We think you deserve 100% royalties. We won't take any of your hard-earned ebook sales, no distribution fees, no transaction fees, no nothing. That means you'll earn the full list price of any ebook sold through our bookstore. And when your ebook sells through a different online retailer, say via the iBook store, you still get 100% of net royalties." That is a pretty large statement considering most of the other publishers online use that fee in order to cover their costs of hosting and distribution and transactions are all covered in that percentage. But these guys apparently do not take any of those fees. And as we learned by looking at some of the other stores, the other online distributors that feed into the iBook store, they take a pretty hefty percentage, 30%. So I'm wondering really how Book Tango works. If I get 100% of all the cash, how do they make money? How do they pay their bills? How do they pay their employees? I guess there's a few other add-ons for additional costs, but nothing that could keep an entire publishing company afloat. And I went through their catalog, and I'm sad to say that all of the covers had been designed through their platform, through their program. And they're somewhat lackluster. And of course, there's always the age-old adage, don't judge a book by its cover. I don't. I judge the publisher. And my judgment tells me that Book Tango isn't the right spot for me. Something doesn't feel right. An author friend of mine told me about Inkshares, and when I checked it out, it was really interesting. It was different than these other online publishers. It was a little bit more challenging, a little bit more open. It was crowdsourcing for books, but in a different way. See, Inkshares starts at the beginning, where you can upload just your idea to the website, and hopefully it will draw the attention of other Inkshare users who will show support for you by liking your project and encouraging you to continue working on it, or to start if you haven't worked on it. And as you go along, you can upload sample chapters or even drafts, and you can get feedback from other writers on the site. And when you're finally ready to turn your draft into that book, you're ready to publish, Inkshares starts selling pre-orders for your book, just like a crowdsourcing campaign. But it's just one or the other. Would you read this book? Yes or no? Would you buy this book? Yes or no? That's the question. Would you buy it? And if you get 750 copies pre-ordered, they'll publish your ebook. And if you get 1,000 copies, they'll physically print it. They'll do all the work for you, the design, the template, the format, the ISBN, everything. And in doing so, they'll collect 50% of the printed and 30% of the ebook. So I loved it. It sounds like a challenge. And I would definitely give this a little bit more consideration if I hadn't already decided to run a crowdsourcing campaign with the Dinner's Ready project. I wanted to keep this one self-published and taking in the royalties without involving crowdsourcing to make it happen. I would rather put it out in the world on my own. So Inkshares sounds like a great idea for a concept when you're trying to get a book out there, but I don't see that working for the purposes of this book of short stories. And all roads led back to Amazon. Kindle Direct Publishing is Amazon's online self-publishing service that gets people to bring their content to the market and helps them by just putting it on Amazon. They don't market it, they don't do anything for you. It is simply your uploaded PDF available in a marketplace for download, which is kind of helpful, but not really, as there needs to be something more, in my opinion, to earn the percentage that Amazon Direct Publishing asks for, which is 30%. Because I could get many other things from many of the other opportunities online, the self-publishers online, for 30%. I think that Amazon believes that simply being listed on Amazon is worth 30%, but the other stores will also offer on their own stores through Amazon to get that done. So I'm not sure that Kindle Direct Publishing would be the only method of publishing this ebook, but could be one that would be part of an arm or one of the many places that I perhaps choose to publish this ebook?
So I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I just thought I had a book that was going to sit there because it had been rejected a lot. And Amazon had literally just come out with their self-publishing platform for the Kindle. And at the time, there was this weird stigma with self-publishing, like if you self-published, you weren't good enough, which is so foolish because there's tons of authors that self-publish and who don't even get published the traditional route who are fantastic. And I think this rise of digital media has been great for young authors and old authors everywhere because we're getting to read and have our eyes on stuff we may never have seen before because people are being brave enough to share it. And so when I started the self-publishing process, I was nervous about it because, I told someone I self-published and they would be like, oh. And that oh was so loaded, it meant like, oh, you're not good enough, or oh, you couldn't get it published the real way, as if there is a real way. So at first, I just told all my friends and family and hoped they would get into it and create some kind of groundswell and get this book to go viral, so to speak, And, a lot of my friends checked it out and they gave me tremendous feedback, but at the time I had no idea how to market. I had no idea how to build a subscription list. I had no idea how to start a website. So I kind of made this defunct little Facebook fan page for it, and no one really gave a shit because I wasn't current with it. And the book did pretty well. I mean, it didn't sell a ton of copies because I didn't really make an effort in learning how to market. I think I was just really satisfied with getting a book done, so I kind of stopped there. And looking back on it now, if I had to do it all over again, I think I could be very successful publishing an ebook because I know how to market and I know how to get people's eyes on it. And the content wouldn't even change that much from 2006 to 2015, almost 16. In 10 years, my writing, the topics may have changed, but my style hasn't changed. And I think looking back on the experience, it was kind of brave to put my stuff out there in a non-traditional way. And, now authors have the really, I guess, good fortune, you could call it, of putting stuff out there and not being judged in terms of the route they've chosen to get the book published, but they'll be judged on their work. Only you should be judged on in the first place.
So I've got a number of publishers to choose from. Now I just need to decide which one is going to suit my needs best. I have a majority of my content, and I can go through and continue to refine that without any use of the online platforms. The design tools that the publishers are offering tend to focus more on cover art, templates, probably working with the table of contents, and those formatting issues which I believe I can handle better in the word processing programs that I'm using on my side, which is a blend of many programs, Photoshop, InDesign, Word, Final Draft, Adobe Preview even. So I think that as little manipulation of my document as required will ultimately result in a smoother process, because I can then upload that same document in the exact same way, in the exact same formatting, to multiple online publishers, and somebody can buy the book on Amazon, somebody can buy the book on Lulu, somebody can buy the book on Blurb, and it will be the exact same because it is my book from start to finish without the inner workings of the individual online publishers that I'm choosing to go with. Which got me thinking, why do I need an online distributor at all? maybe because it gets me involved in the marketplace, but what if I just created my own storefront on my website and invited people to purchase the PDF from me at a cheap price because I wouldn't have to deal with as many of the fees that are required from some of the other spots. I mean, I could just post it, and if people want to buy it, they can click through my PayPal links and purchase it. That would trigger a money order. I could just watermark the book and send it out that way, and maybe I'd have to include some legal lingo in the purchase agreement that said that sharing the document is a breach of contract. I don't even know what I would consider that kind of option to be like, but why can't I offer the book on my website and for no fees, just straight to me, person to person, author to reader relationship? The fact is that probably could work with a well-known author. Tim Ferriss could probably do that. J.K. Rowling could probably do that. Stephen King could probably do that. Christopher Hills Eaton, the unknown, relatively unpublished author, I don't think I could do that. I don't have the leverage. I don't have the network. I don't have the eyes on my blog and on my writing every day that some of the more prolific and popular writers do. So, as exciting and likely as it could be for me to simply cut everybody else out and offer my ebook on my website for very cheap, I don't think that would be the best choice to give myself an opportunity to make that money. Quick recap. 1. I'm gonna publish a book of short stories from my unwritten screenplays. 2. I'm gonna publish online, most likely through Amazon Direct Publishing or the Apple iBookstore. 3. In order to ensure consistency, I'm gonna do all the formatting, design, and template issues on my side. Not gonna rely on Amazon for that. So the last thing that leaves us is the most important piece: content. The actual words on the digital page. And in an upcoming episode of The Modern Entrepreneur, you'll get a reading of some of those words. On the next episode of The Modern Entrepreneur.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, you excited?
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking stoked.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting.